Good afternoon, traders. It's Simon at Kairos Capital Markets with the weekly review of Aussie dollar, pound yen and euro dollar. So it's a little bit late this week again, but midweek it looks pretty nice to see what's happening to go on from there. So we'll recap from last week what I expected. I expected, for example, the Aussie dollar to move down a little bit, then maybe, well, actually I wanted to touch 77 to be quite honest on Aussie dollar. We will tap onto that in a minute. It's broke down quite a lot. I didn't take this trade because it didn't reach my criteria. It's not what I call a decent test or anything, but we'll go through it a little bit later and see what's happening. So what I see here on the weekly perspective of the dollar index is I've put a line in at 12100. Got a little touch here with the trend line, a touch there, a little touch there, a bit of area around here as well. So I think 12100 will actually create the neckline. I was thinking it may be the weekly 50 EMA, be a slighted neckline, but now this looks quite nice for an inverse head and shoulder pattern forming. So obviously RSI is at the top as well at 100, so it does make kind of sense now. And this is what I'm looking for now, something like this, like that, and something for this to happen like that. Obviously the right shoulder has nowhere near been formed yet, so that's what I'm looking for now, what I think will actually take place, something like this. Again, if we break above 12100, we're then going to take the tops of here at 1223 roughly, and then eventually at some point we need to come for a retest at some point or another. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for value at the moment. If you bought the dollar now and you had to hold for a very long time to actually make money out of this, because if it does pull back it will go against you. So I just think this move from here to here needs a pullback, as well. You see here the move down in a bear market here, moved down aggressively, chopped around, then moved back up in the same direction. So for me personally it's a perfect formation of a head, but that's what I see. It has to pull back now at some point or another, so that's what I'm expecting it to do. So that's how I'm settled now for the next couple of months. I'd say a dollar pullback. Now, how does that look on other charts here? Well, on the Aussie dollar here, as you know, last week I outlined 0.77 being the area of interest for me. Now, obviously, we've just broken down now, and that's kind of moved, well, it moved in my direction I predicted, but it puts me in a predicament where I think, well, can I actually take a trade, or what am I looking for here? So for me personally, let's clear some of this chart up now a little bit, makes life a little bit easier here now. You may find a test of the weekly 50 EMA would be nice, but if it's in the middle here, for example, in a few weeks time, your stops be very unprotected for a long-term trade. You may get a short-term trade, no problem at all, but a long-term trade I'd be a bit unprotected. So for me personally, we just zoom out a little bit now, we'll just see what we've got here. And I do have a little level here at 75, 0.75, so maybe the chart broke down a bit more, then come back up to test 75 and the weekly 50, that would be nice. Again, that just highlights how weak the US dollar actually is though, so the Aussie dollar, how weak the Aussie dollar really is compared to the US. So for the moment, I can kind of sit on my hands here. The daily chart is this. You are trending downwards here, so for that move to go up, break to the upside, you'd need a break of this downward sloping trend line there. So any break above this trend line would definitely see back up to 77, which is kind of what I was expecting here, funny enough, just to test the 77 and come back down again. But we haven't had that, so like I said, we just play it by ear. I know if you could take a trade around here somewhere, a short-term trade down to the recent lows, but like I said, it just didn't reach all my criteria, so I wasn't happy with it. So euro dollar now. Now, euro dollar, I suggested that we would move up to 1.2, and again, this still coincides with what I was looking for Aussie dollar, and I still think that's kind of viable until we break down below this 1.157 area. So at the moment we've got a nice little mini double bottom forming on the daily chart, and we can see that RSI is peaking, is now dropping down quite sharply. Notice here when it did touch the first time, rallied off nicely, so we are expecting maybe a move to the upside. Now also when we look at the weekly perspective, as you can see I've got this head and shoulder pattern already drawn in place. And again, the weekly does need a pullback of some sort. So when we look at RSI, we've got a RSI sitting at 0, a double bottom on the weekly perspective as well. And notice we've got this zone as well here. So for me to say I'm happy to take the trade short if it breaks. It's got to break below the zone, a break and retest of the zone, or a test of 1.2, which I still think is going. I still believe is going to be viable. And you put your Fibonacci in there as well. That whole zone is between 0.5 and 618, so you could leave an order there maybe for 2 months or so. You could do something like this, put an order like that there. You'd be quite comfortable with a stop like that, I would, and then you can target. Well, there's your first fib extension, but if you think the one-to-one pattern exchange of this head and shoulder pattern is going to happen, then you can definitely target the bottom there for a nice 8% trade. But again, this is a long-term trade here. I know not many people like long-term trades, but hey, this is how you make money in this market still. Now, pound yen, let's have a look at pound yen. I've not looked at pound yen at all this week at all, so pound yen has broken down again. A lot of yen pairs did actually put in some bearish patterns, so the yen will look like getting stronger, and this was no exception here. Really nice little doji from last week. I wasn't particularly too happy with it, just purely because of how it was forming and how shallow it was, how quick. But on a daily perspective, you can take a nice little trade there. Nice little mid double top on the 4-hour chart would have formed there in the zone of 148 to 147.5. So this zone has acted so key for so long now, you could see it. And now we move down to the 144, 145 zone as expected here. And now we're there again. So for me personally, you've missed a trade, you have, guys. There's no more trade to take here, purely because it's moved away already. The next trade on this one, ideally a higher probability trade, will be when the market moves down like this, and then the market would have to pull back to this area here, and you'll again get another third touch of this daily 50, this zone, and this downward sloping trend line that's been forming as well. I'll just draw that trend line in for you as well. There you are, that trend line there. So you'll be looking for something, a test around this area here. Like I said, you've missed a boat on this one. I wouldn't be chasing it at all or anything. Unless, of course, you're going to trade off the weekly perspective. I know some people are desperate to trade. If you can trade off the weekly perspective here, you've got to put your stop above here, and you have to target the lows here of 140. That would make sense. So let's say you put a trade in here like this. You've got to put your stop above like that there. Can you get a 1% trade there? You can get 1% trade if you trade for the weekly perspective. Again, this is nice and easy. If you're working full-time, guys, you've got a busy lifestyle and this, that and the other, trades like this will make you money. You can make an easy 15-20% per annum doing these kind of trades like this, just purely because it's nice and easy. Again, no, if you placed it like this way, place a trade like this and done it this way, for example, from last week, place your order just about below this one, put your target there to 1.8% trade, that would have been. But again, though, the weekly and monthlies, that way it's very easy to trade, that is. Now I know I do some little add-on ones, so pound dollar is something I've been looking at as well. I expect on the weekly perspective a pullback to this area here to 1.37. It hasn't really happened, unfortunately, and you can put a level along here somewhere around about 131.5. and you can then start making out some form of twisted head and shoulder pattern here. So again, that's your head, that's what you're looking for there, and again we can still reach this area like that there. So I think this is quite a viable pattern to form as well. Again, if you break below the 131.5 on the weekly perspective, you're going to do something like this, and it has to be a shallow pullback to this area here, where the 50 EMA on the weekly perspective will start diving down. You've got this support and resistance, turning resistance as well. So that'd be something I'll be looking at as well. But I want to play it by ear and see what really happens. And we're just going to sit on our hands for most of these trades for the week. A trade does look nice, but only for a short-term trade, is this one here. This is pound Aussie on the weekly perspective. And I know last week we had a bullish engulfing candle here, but this week we've been struggling to do anything else now. It's a trade I've taken recently as well. You saw my last video. And when you come down to the daily perspective, it's a very, very nice trade on a daily perspective idea, with the 1.79 area being key, 1, 2, and now the third touch. The daily 50 EMA is just in the region of saying it is being respected. It is beautiful high volume and high test on this yesterday's candle. And again, if we just put the Fibonacci pullback sequence, and you have a pullback to the 0.5, testing the 0.5 as well. So you've got quite a lot of confidence factors in place there. and again RSI sitting at 100. When RSI set 100 here, it chopped around, then broke down. So I do see a nice trade forming there. The lower time frames look nice as well, with the breaking retest of the 1 hour 50 EMA. So for me personally, I've taken that trade. I think it looks nice. Now, if you, depending how short or long term you are, if say you just took it now, for example, you can put a stop like there and put your limit there, for example, for a 2.8% trade. Or you can do a much tighter trade using the intraday time frames, and again going for a little 1% of there. You've got lots of ways you can do this trade, and it depends on your style and what you want to do. But for a daily perspective, that's a beautiful trade, a trade you really should be looking at, or at least try and take advantage of every time you see this, purely because of the way the trades have formed here. Okay guys, sorry it's late, but take care. Any questions, give us a shout. Bye bye.